Today I'm talking about where one of my friends stole $10,000 from his mom, and ended up buying a lot of expensive things and eventually got caught. Now this all starts off about 4 years ago when I was 13 and when I was in year 7 at school. Now the friend in this story time, we're gonna call him Nick. So Nick was basically like the troublemaker of the school, right? Like he really wasn't someone you'd want to be hanging around with all the time, because he'd probably end up getting you into a lot of trouble. And this story time is about one of those times. So Nick never really followed the rules. He never really did any of his work in class, in school, anything like that. He would always be messing around, always trying to make jokes and crack up and start laughing and everything like that. He always found a way to get out of class and start skipping all the time. Like it got to the point where he had like detentions basically every single week, and he really was on thin ice with the school. Like anytime he went into the office or anytime he talked to a teacher, like I'd always say the same thing. Like, you're on thin ice right now. Like, this is your last chance. If you don't stop being annoying, like we're gonna have to find you a new school and you're gonna get suspended for a very long time. And he always said the same thing, like, yeah, whatever, like I'll try to be better or whatever. But he never really followed the rules, right? Like he never really listened. He sort of just went on, just kept doing what he was doing. But anyway, this story time isn't about school, because this all starts off on a Saturday morning. So I woke up, I had my routine, I ended up having a shower, I ended up brushing my teeth, having breakfast, everything like that. And by this time, it was around the start of when I made my YouTube channel. So I was basically, so at this point, I was like just starting to make videos. So I was probably making like one video every 3 weeks or something like that. So at this point, I just finished recording a video and I was editing it for a little bit. And I was working on a few videos during that morning just to get ahead a little bit. And I was just basically making videos whenever I felt like it. So I was basically just editing or whatever. And then Nick messages me and goes, "Yo, do you want to hang out today? Like, my mom gave me a credit card. Like, I've got some money to spend. Like surely you come with me. We can go into Westfield and we can go into all these shopping centers. We can spend a bit of money. Like, do you want to come with me?" And I message him back saying, "Yo, how much money did she let you have? Like how much do you have?" And Nick says, "Oh, it's just a couple of $100s." And I said, "Oh, damn, that's cool. Like your mom just randomly gave you a couple of $100s. Like, sure, I'm down. Like, if you want me to come with you, I'll come with you." And Nick says, "Yeah, bro, it's sick. Like she gives me money all the time. Like it's kind of cool." So at that point, I ended up finishing up my video. I ended up saying, "All right, so we're gonna go to Westfield. We're gonna go spend a bit of money. We're gonna go hang out with Nick." So I ended up finishing my video. Then I went to go ask my mom if I could go into town, and she basically says yes, gives me about $30 and says, "Don't spend it on stupid crap. Like, spend it on something you actually want." And I said, "Yeah, sure, I won't spend it on stupid stuff." So about 10 minutes later, my mom ends up driving me over to Nick's house, and about 20 minutes later, we pull up to their driveway. So my mom gives me the money, and I message Nick saying, "Where are we going? Like open the door, like I'm outside your house." And then Nick opens the door, right? So we end up pulling into the driveway. Nick opens the door, and it wasn't like, "Oh, hi, how are you? Like, come inside." Nick opens the door and immediately goes, "All right, we gotta go right now. Like no one's home, but I kind of want to buy all this stuff now. Like the shops are gonna shut soon." And I said, "Nick, it's literally 12 p.m. The shops aren't gonna shut for another like 5 to 6 hours." And he goes, "Yeah, but I kind of want to get this stuff now. Like, I got a lot I want to buy." I'm like, "What could you possibly buy with like $200-300? And he's like, "Trust me, bro. There's a lot I can buy. Like I've been looking online. There's some things I want to get." I'm like, "Okay, well, fair enough." So I ended up bringing my bag, and we ended up just going straight to the shops. Like, it was about a 5-minute walk. It really wasn't that far away. But Nick decided he wanted to go straight away, so we ended up going there. So we ended up walking over to this shopping mall called Westfield, and again, it only takes about 5 minutes because Nick doesn't really live too far away from it. He lives in like the same suburb or town as this Westfield shopping center. And this is like a big shopping center, right? Like this is probably the biggest shopping center in our town or whatever. So we start walking around for a little bit, like we aren't really buying anything, and we sort of go to the food court and we sit around for about 10 to 20 minutes eating our food. Then we went into this clothes store. Now this is where the story time really starts to kick off. Now this clothes store isn't really the most expensive clothes store in the world, but it really isn't the cheapest either. They had like somewhat luxury items, like they weren't really too expensive, but it was to a point where you'd probably be concerned and you'd probably be looking at the price tag and consider whether you'd actually want to buy this sort of stuff. So think about it like this: the clothes in that store were basically like $60 per shirt and like $100 to $150 for a hoodie or something like that. So not really the cheapest thing in the world, but like it was nowhere near expensive as like Supreme or Gucci or something like that, or just other options that were around Westfield. So me and Nick end up walking into this store, and I was not really ready for what was about to happen next. Nick ends up walking around for probably about 3 minutes, and then he ends up just grabbing like 3 to 5 like hoodies. This kid, without even hesitating, literally just grabbed like 5 hoodies that were worth like $100 to $150 each, and then he grabs 3 shirts, or just like 3 or 4 shirts that were probably worth like $60 to $70. Like, this kid was not hesitating. This kid acted like he literally just won the lottery. Like he wasn't even thinking about what he was buying. He just grabbed a ton of expensive hoodies and shirts. And I'm talking like 5 of each and then 3 of each shirts. Like this kid was buying a lot. Like, he literally wouldn't stop. So we end up going to the checkout, right? And then Nick ends up racking up a bill of over $700. And I'm sitting there, and I didn't say anything at first because I was like, okay, I'll ask this kid once we get out of the store. But this is pretty insane. I did not think this kid had like $700 to spend. So once we got out of the store, I turned to Nick and I'm like, Nick, please tell me right now, how much money do you have? Like, I thought you only had a couple of $100. Like, there's no way you just spent $700 and your mum just gave that to you. Like, there's no way. And Nick turns to me, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I kind of lied to you. Like, I kind of had upwards of like $1,000 or just something close to that. And I go, $1,000? Bro, what the hell? How'd you convince your parents to give you $1,000 to spend at Westfield for no reason? Because keep in mind, right, that this wasn't like a birthday or anything. This wasn't a Christmas gift or something. This was literally just like, he was basically telling me that his mum just gave him $1,000 randomly just to spend at Westfield. I'm like, there's no way that your mum just gave you $1,000 to spend at Westfield. Now, I'll be honest, this kid lived in like a decently wealthy family. Like, it really wasn't, he really didn't live in like a very poor area, I guess you could say. Like his family did have a fair bit of money, but there's no way that his parents would let him have $1,000 to spend at Westfield. Like they weren't that rich, right? Like they were kind of balling, but they weren't at that point. So I just told Nick straight up, I'm like, there's no way your mum just gave you $1,000 to spend at no reason. And then he tells me, he's like, I have my ways. Like, I mean, I've been doing really good at school now. Like, I haven't been acting up lately because keep in mind, right, like I said at the start of this story time, Nick is a troublemaker, right? Like he always goes around doing stupid stuff. He almost got kicked out of school. So apparently he was being good for a month, and apparently his mum just decided to give him $1,000. I didn't really buy the story, but you know, I kind of just had to believe it because you know, I didn't really want to say anything else, to be honest with you. So after this, Nick decided he'd have enough of the clothes store, and we ended up going to the computer store, and we ended up going to like all the electronics and everything. We ended up going to this store that had like gaming headsets, gaming computers, like PS4s and everything like that. At this point, the PS5 was announced, so the best you could get was a PS4, but this is probably the most insane part of it. Nick literally walks into the store, and I walk in with him, and I'm not kidding, he literally just walks up to the first PS4 he finds, picks it up and goes, yeah, I'm gonna buy this. He walks up to the front counter, pays for it, and he just buys it. And at that point, I'm sitting there like, okay, this kid did not hesitate to just buy a PS4, and there's no way that that's under his $1,000 budget. There's no way that that's happening. But again, we're kind of in the store. I didn't really want to say anything in case I was going to make us suspicious and get like the stores to call the police or something because like Nick was spending money that he shouldn't have. But then Nick, as I'm going up to the laptop section, at this point I'm like, okay, there is no way this kid is buying a laptop. Like he's got to just be going over there to just have a look at something. Like there's no way his mom's just going to let him buy a laptop like that. Like there is no way. But sure enough, Nick ends up going to the laptop section. He ends up going to the most expensive laptop in the entire store. I'm not kidding when I say this. They were like $300 laptops, $400 laptops, you know, stuff that would be like suited for students, I guess you could say. But Nick ends up going to the gaming laptop section and goes to find a $5,000 laptop. I'm not kidding when I say this. This kid went to the $5,000 laptop section and ended up just going to the front counter, putting the laptop on the desk and say, I'm gonna put this on credit. And I look at Nick while he's doing this, I'm like, there is no way in hell you have just bought a $5,000 laptop. But sure enough, the cashier ends up turning to him and says, alright, where's your credit card? Nick gives him the credit card, scans it, and you know, obviously it didn't decline, it approved. Nick then picks up his laptop and we end up walking out of the store. And I turn to Nick, I'm like, okay, Nick, tell me right now, how much money do you have? You clearly don't have $1,000. You just spent like $6,000 in this store alone. Like, how much money do you have? And he goes, okay, fine. I didn't want to seem like a spoiled rich kid. I didn't really want to tell you at the start, but it's around $10,000. And I go, $10,000? Are you serious? There is no way you've just been given $10,000 to just go spend at Westfield on a random Saturday morning. There is no way in hell. And Nick turns to me, he's like, yeah, well, I mean, I don't know either. Like, my mom just gave it to me. She's like, if you want to spend it, you can spend it. If you want to save it, you can save it. And I turned to Nick and I said, bro, why did you spend it all at Westfield? Like, why didn't you just like save it or just put like, just save it till you're like 16, 18 or something like that? He's like, bro, because that's boring. Like, why would I do that when I can just go to Westfield Westfield and spend it. And I said, bro, you do not need a $5,000 gaming laptop. That is such a waste of money. You're 13 years old. Like, what are you gonna use it for? He's like, I don't know, bro. Like my laptop right now isn't that great, and you know, I kind of want a better laptop. And I said, you can literally get a laptop that will suit your needs for like $2,000. Why 5,000? He's like, I don't know, bro. I kind of wasn't thinking, but you know, like I've got it now. I can't really do anything about it. I said, yeah, you know what? Fair enough. Like you do have it now, and you know, it is your $10,000. For some reason, I actually believed this kid. I don't know why, but I did. And I ended up just like seeing this as just a random $10,000 gift, which is kind of stupid now that I think about it. So we ended up leaving the store, and I didn't really think anything else was going to happen. I kind of thought that was going to be the end of it. We were just going to go back home. He was just going to play on his computer or whatever, and you know, everything was going to be fine. So we ended up leaving the store. We ended up going back home, and we walked inside, and I realized that none of Nick's parents were home. Now this is kind of strange because every time I went to Nick's house before, normally at least one of his parents were home to like supervise or whatever. So I look at Nick and I said, like your parents know that I'm here, right? And he basically said, yeah, like I told her before. I told my mom that like you're gonna come over here like after we spend the money. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Just as long as I'm not causing a nuisance to your house, and as long as like I don't get into trouble for being here when I shouldn't be here. He's like, no, bro, you're fine. Like, don't worry about it. So we end up going into Nick's room, and we end up playing on our new systems for a little bit. I end up playing on his PS4, like his brand new one, and he ends up playing on his laptop. He ends up like setting everything up, and then eventually he started getting phone calls, right? Like I could hear his phone going off, and then I picked up his phone and it says mum. So I turned to Nick and I go, yeah, your mum's calling. Like, do you want me to answer it? He's like, nah, bro, just leave it for a little bit. Like I need to set this up first. Like I'll call her back later. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, and then I put the phone down, and you know, we didn't really do anything after that. But then 2 minutes later, her mum calls him again, and I said, Nick, she's calling you again. Like, are you sure you don't want to answer it? He's like, nah, bro, just leave it for a little bit. Like, I'll call her back later. I was like, okay, sure. And I'm not even kidding. Her mum called Nick 7 more times after this, like literally all in a row. And I said, Nick, like she's spam calling you. Like, are you sure you don't want to answer? Like it might be something important. He's like, nah, bro, don't worry about it. Like I know she's at work right now. She's probably stressed out about something, about like probably something stupid. I was like, okay, bro. I mean, if you're sure. Then eventually about 20 minutes later, Nick sets up his computer, and then he ends up picking up his phone and calls his mum back. And I'm not kidding when I say he literally pressed the call button, and within one ring, she was on the line screaming at him. She ends up literally screaming at him. She goes, what's going on with my account? I said you could spend $50. Why do I have a charge on my account for nearly $10,000? Like, was this you, or was this a hacker or something? And at this point, Nick takes his phone off speaker and ends up putting it up to his ear and starts bawling his eyes out. And I'm like, oh god, yeah, I should have known this kid was lying. There's no way his mum would have just given him $10,000 for no reason. And Nick starts sobbing and he goes, yeah, it was me. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Like, I don't know. I found your credit card and I don't know. And then Nick ends up walking out of the room, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I should probably leave. Like, I don't want to be here. But when his mum gets home and completely screams at him, because I should have known at the start, there was no way this kid had $10,000 just to spend at Westfield. So Nick ends up crying and talking to his mum for probably about, I want to say like 15 minutes. And then he comes back in the room and he basically says, yeah, bro, like you got to get out. Like my mom's going to come home in like 5 minutes and she's pissed. I'm like, that's not your $10,000, right? Like you 100% stole that. And he goes, yeah, I kind of did steal it. Like I saw a credit card on the bench and I thought I could just buy something. I'm like, Nick, you are a dumbass. You know that, right? Like why would you spend $7,000 on your mom's credit card when she left it at home? That is the dumbest thing you could have possibly done. He's like, yeah, bro, I feel so bad. Like I don't know why I did it. I'm like, okay, but I'll see you later. I'll talk to you at school. So I end up leaving the house. I end up getting my mom to pick me up. I told my mom about it and she's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't be hanging out with Nick anymore if he's going to be doing stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. Like, I probably shouldn't be doing that. Anyway, Nick ended up getting suspended for 3 months. Yes, literally 3 months. Which honestly is kind of a tame punishment for the crime. Like, this kid spent $10,000 and he did end up returning everything. Like, he did end up returning the laptop and the PS4 that I'd just been playing on for like 20 minutes. But I don't think Nick said that I was playing on the PS4, so I think I was all good there. But yeah, he ended up having to return all of his luxury items, all of his clothes and everything. So yeah, moral of the story is, it's a pretty simple one. Just don't steal money from your parents, or just don't steal money in general, because it's a completely disgusting thing to do. Anyway, if you guys want to send in story times, go to my Instagram at gliderguy by 10. You can send me a DM. I'll probably mention you in a story time. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.